Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, 28th chapter, text number 7. Etairanyascha patibir mano dushtam asatpatham buddhya yunjita shanakair jita prano yatandritaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. By these processes or any other true process, one must control the contaminated, unbridled mind which is always attracted by material enjoyment and thus fix himself in thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Etair Anyascha. The general yoga process entails observing the rules and regulations, practicing the different sitting postures, concentrating the mind on the vital circulation of the air, and then thinking of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his Vaikuntha pastimes. This is the general process of yoga. This same concentration can be achieved by other recommended processes, and therefore Anyaischa, other methods also can be applied. The essential point is that the mind, which is contaminated by material attraction, has to be bridled and concentrated on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It cannot be fixed on something void or impersonal. For this reason, so-called yoga practices of voidism and impersonalism are not recommended in any standard yoga shastra. The real yogi is the devotee because his mind is always concentrated on the pastimes of Lord Krishna. Therefore, Krishna consciousness is the topmost yoga system. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport.
So, we are reading Kapila's instructions to his mother on the subject of yoga and the different steps and stages of yoga practice. And in the last verse, we saw that how one must control the vital air, the circulation of the vital air, and finally become absorbed in Vaikuntha Leela. Continuing that, here Kapila is saying, Etair anyaischa pathibhir. This is what is to be achieved. To control the mind and enable the mind to concentrate on the pastimes of Vishnu in Vaikuntha. Anyaischa pathibhir. Etairi anyaischa pathibhir. So this can also be achieved by other processes. To control the mind and concentrate the mind on Vishnu and Vishnu's pastimes can also be done by other processes. Anya pathaha. Etair anyaischa pathibhir manodushtam asat patham. But the important thing is this mind, which is dushta, which is contaminated, unbridled. That mind should be brought away from asat patham. Asat, temporary, patham, the path. And Prabhupada has translated that as on the path of material enjoyment. So the mind has a nature, has a tendency to go into the asat patham because mano dushtam. And so this has to be controlled. How do we control? Buddhya yunjita. By intelligence, we must control the mind. Intelligence is higher than the mind. Mind is a repository of thoughts, feelings, emotions, desires. So mind comes up with all of these desires and thoughts, and it is the buddhya yunjita. Buddhi has to control, and it is the intelligence which tells us this is okay, this is not okay, do this, don't do this. So we very clearly see the distinction between the role of the mind and the role of the intelligence. Mind comes up with thoughts. Just like we see a big thali of nice food, and the mind says, oh, nice food, we must eat. And it is the intelligence which will tell, no, we must control. We will have health problem if I eat this tomorrow. Remember last time I ate that and then I had, next 3 days I was suffering. So if I eat this, again that suffering will come. It's the intelligence which is functioning. The two are distinct. So, buddhi should be used to bridle the mind. Buddhya yunjita shanakai. And it won't happen immediately, gradually, slowly, little by little. Because for a long time, we have left the mind uncontrolled. Because controlling the mind is possible only in the human form of life. Animals, moment they develop a thought, they will run after that thought. Of course, we can train the animal to some extent, but then they are just waiting. If you have seen animal trainers and how they just hold for some time, and the moment you let go again, the animal will run towards something that is attracting that animal. So, mind can be controlled by the intelligence, and here jita pranaha, fixing the prana, which is a yoga process. And here another word Kapila has used is atandritaha. And one should always be alert. So, by these processes, etaihi, or any other process, ISKCON, one must control the contaminated, unbridled mind. Yunjita manodushtam, which is always attracted by material enjoyment, asatpatham, and thus fix himself in the thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Prabhupada has mentioned that very clearly. Kapila is saying, this controlling the mind with the intelligence and being alert, that is possible by Ashtanga Yoga, and it may be possible by other methods also. But the important thing is to control the mind with the intelligence. And that also requires the intelligence to be always very alert. Srila Prabhupada also mentions, there is this verse from the Upanishads, which talks about how spiritual life is like a kshurasya dhara nishitha duratyaya durgam patasthat khavayo vadanti. In this verse, it is described the spiritual life is like a sharp razor's edge. And just like when you are shaving, you have to be very alert. If you are not alert and you have a very sharp razor, you may cut your face. So, what is needed when you are having a sharp razor? You have to be very alert. So, the same principle, atandritaha. As spiritualists who are trying to practice Krishna consciousness, we have to be alert. Atandritaha also means not lazy, not tired. So the intelligence has to be very alert. So we should lead a life in such a way that our mind and intelligence can be properly engaged in spiritual life. And especially the intelligence is expected to be very alert, watching over the thoughts, always discerning on the basis of intelligence, here buddhyayunjita. Buddhi has to control. Now the buddhi is one's own intelligence. Another aspect of intelligence is intelligence coming from the scriptures. Because our intelligence is also limited. We cannot understand many things about this complex material world. So we need direction from the Vedic literatures. So on the basis of one's own intelligence and also on the basis of intelligence developed from Vedic knowledge, one should control the mind and one should always be alert. There is another example given in the Bhagavatam. When a hunter hunts an animal, it is said that after capturing the animal, he will always be very alert about the animal because the animal can run away again. So in the same way, one is to control the mind and also to be always alert. Otherwise, the mind will again asatpatham, mano dushtam asatpatham. Mind will once again tread on the path of asatpatham. So another example Prabhupada gives is, if you are walking in a forest and there are a lot of thorns, imagine you are barefooted and you are walking, how careful you have to be where you place your every step. You have to be alert. In the same way, as spiritualists, we have to be alert every step or every stage of our thinking and acting process. So in other words, alertness is very important. And in the same context, Prabhupada also informs us that we should never trust the mind. Because the mind is dushtamana. Mano dushtam asatpatham. So we have to be alert and never trust the mind. Never feel overconfident about the mind. Because mind is dushta. So as practicing devotees, we always seek guidance. Guidance means intelligence. Either we have developed a certain amount of spiritual intelligence and we seek that guidance, or we seek guidance from the scriptures, from the spiritual master's instructions, or we can also take guidance from a more experienced devotee in the form of association. All of these helps to be on the right path of Krishna consciousness rather than trust the mind and go by the mind's thinking and judgment. So this is an important principle that is explained by Kapila. The next important thing in this verse and in the purport that Prabhupada mentions, mano dushtam asatpatham. The essential point is that the mind which is contaminated by material attraction, mind is contaminated by material attraction, has to be bridled and concentrated on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So let us think a little bit on this principle of material attraction. Our minds are attracted to material enjoyment. And here Prabhupada explains that is the symptom of a contaminated mind. A contaminated mind is attracted to sense gratification. Now, this attraction means our consciousness, something, it grabs our attention. Something, it holds our attention. Something that evokes our interest, our liking, and that's why we get attracted to something. Just like all of us have this experience. We go out in the auto or we go out in the car. When you're driving, you're looking at things outside. Immediately there are many things which attract our attention. Right? Those are the objects of senses. Indriya Vishaya. It attracts our attention. And this attention is a feature of consciousness. This table has no attention. It has no consciousness. So moment we say there is a soul, and the soul has consciousness, and the soul has the ability to be attracted to different things. The table is not attracted to anything. If there is an ant crawling on the floor, the ant is attracted to something, and hence it is walking and crawling and heading somewhere, because it is attracted. So this principle of being attracted itself is a feature of our consciousness. Now the Mayavadi's approach is, this attraction is a wrong thing. The Vaishnava's philosophy is, no. Attraction itself is not a wrong thing. Being attracted to Indriya Vishaya is a wrong thing. The feature of being attracted is not a wrong thing. In fact, it is the feature of being attracted. We like it. We are drawn to it. We are charmed by it. And that's what gives us pleasure. So the feature of being attracted is not wrong. That's a feature of the consciousness. Table has no attraction. Every living entity will always have attraction. Now we have to decide where we are, to what we are attracted. When it is manodushtam, asatpatham. When the mind is not dushtam, it is shuddham, then it is satpatham. The mind can be attracted to the right thing. So this is an important understanding. When the mind is contaminated, we are attracted to sense gratification and other objects of senses in the material world. But the principle of attraction is a very fundamental feature of consciousness that cannot be negated. In fact, Srila Prabhupada brings out this in a very interesting way. In a letter that Prabhupada wrote, he says, actually Prabhupada could express very profound Krishna conscious ideas so spontaneously, so easily, because he was always on that spiritual platform. He was fully conscious of all of these knowledge. So even when he is writing a letter this letter was being written to an American. He was not even a devotee. Later on he became a devotee. And in that letter Prabhupada writes, the sum and substance of material life is attraction between man and woman. The sum and substance of spiritual life is attraction between Krishna and living entity. It's a very profound thought. Material life means there is attraction between man and woman. And it is actually this for the materialists, for the conditioned souls, for the ignorant living entities. It is this attraction which actually gives them pleasure and enjoyment. attraction between man and woman. Now, the next thing Prabhupada is saying the sum and substance of material life is this. Everything is centered around this attraction between a man and a woman. Now, this attraction is actually is what makes life interesting. So, what is spiritual life going to be? No, don't think there is no attraction in the spiritual world. Spiritual life also full of attraction. Because it's the attractive things which make life interesting. In the spiritual world, spiritual life is attraction between Krishna and the living entity. It is such a great relief. The Mayavadis say, material life, Mayavadis also say the first half of the sentence. They say, sum and substance of material life is attraction between man and woman. But when it comes to spiritual life, they don't know that variegatedness. And they say, you should be free from all attraction. All attraction for no attraction at all. It means you become a stone. This is their kind of an understanding that the Mayavadis have. And the Vaishnavas say, no, that's not the truth. Spiritual life also full of attraction, and attractive features are there in the spiritual world. And that attractive feature is between the Lord, the living entity, and the Lord in the spiritual world. There are wonderful pastimes. There are wonderful situations created by Yoga Maya in the spiritual world. And the living entity is a participant in all of those activities which are extremely attractive. That is the view of spiritual world and spiritual consciousness presented in the Vedic literatures. A very nice verse which tells us about this is Kunti's prayers. Tvai me ananya vishaya mathir madhupate sakrit ratim udvahata daddha gange vaugam udhanvati. We have all chanted this verse. You are all familiar with this verse. Kunti Devi is saying, Tvai me ananya vishaya mathir madhupate sakrit. May matihi, my consciousness, my mind, may it always be drawn to Madhupati, who is Krishna. Ananya Vishaya, and no other thought, no other subject, but only Krishna. And how should it be? Ratimudvahata daddha. Rati means attraction. So I should be drawn. I should be attracted to Krishna. How I should be attracted to Krishna? With the force, like Ganga is flowing towards the ocean. If you go to Haridwar, many of you must have seen, and when you see the Ganga flowing there, one thing you can notice is the force with which Ganga is flowing. There is some kind of a force, there is some kind of something drawing Ganga to rushing towards the ocean. Kunti is praying, may my consciousness also rush towards Krishna. You see that element of attraction? When you are attracted to something, it's irresistible, you are drawn to it. So, Kunti is praying that may my consciousness be also attracted like that. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings is, in spiritual life, initially, we go through a phase where we follow rules and regulations, controlling the mind, controlling the senses, attentive, be very alert. That's a very essential phase. But that's not the end. The end of all spiritual life is not just that. When we are purified by doing this, we will come to a stage that Kunti Maharani is talking about. Ratimudvahata dadha. When one will be drawn to Krishna. And that stage is called Raganuga Bhakti. These are very important contributions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is there in the Vedic literatures. Prior to that, many acharyas, in many other sampradayas, this understanding is not highlighted. It is there, but it is not highlighted. But these are special features. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu highlighted these concepts, these principles from the Shastras. To give you an illustration of what this is, I have mentioned this story. There is one supporter of our temple. One day he called and he said, Swamiji, we have built a new house. We want you to come and do a puja in my house. So I said, okay, he's an important man. We'll send some, our devotees go and do Narsimha Yagna or something. I said, okay. And then he asked, Swamiji, how long will that puja be? So I said, maybe 1 hour, 15 minutes. So no, Swamiji, not that long. I said, okay. So shall we make it 45 minutes? No, even 45 minutes is too long. Then I could hear his wife on the background shouting at him. No, don't say all that to Swamiji, etc. And finally he said, 15 minutes. Just see, they have no attraction for these things. They want some puja you have to do. We have opened a new house. Finish it off, finish quickly. Because they have no attraction. For them, it is some kind of a vidhi. We have to do what to do. My wife is pushing me to do. For her satisfaction, we have to do one puja. You see, so there is no attraction in that. The very same person, another day, I had to call him for something, and then I called him. For a long time, he didn't lift the phone. Usually he takes the phone very quickly. He's always on the phone. So I was wondering, and then I stopped, and again, after a few minutes, again I called. Again, after a long time, he picked up the phone, and I could hear on the other side, there was a lot of excitement in their house. I think he was in the house. And I could sense a kind of and then he is telling, Swamiji, if you don't mind, we're watching India-Pakistan cricket match. If you don't mind, I'll call you after 15 minutes. You see? So when it comes to a cricket match, maybe something interesting must be happening. We are all disconnected from that world. So we don't know. And so when it comes to a cricket match, they are drawn to it, they are attracted to it. So, and they think that spiritual life means all these boring process, pratha and all these puja, vidhi, all that you have to do. Can we do it in a very short while? Cricket match, oh, so interesting. 1 hour, 2 hours, 5 days. All that, they are ready to endure. See, because there, the element of attraction is working. And because they are not spiritually trained, they don't know about these things. They think that spiritual life, religious activities are all simply some kind of a boring rituals that one has to follow because it's in the tradition or the wife is troubling, and that's the only impetus for them. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, no, spiritual life is not just that. That's an essential stage. It's a stage that is essential for purification. Then you'll come to the stage of Raganuga Bhakti. Actually, the word Raga Anuga, Ga means Gamishyati, to go. Anuga means to follow. And follow what? Raga Anuga. Raga means attraction. So you will come to a stage where you will be drawn to Krishna and you will be going in that direction. That stage is called Raganuga Bhakti. Ratimudvahata Ganga Adha Gange Vaugam Udhanvati. It is not that Ganga is flowing down the river like that with great ferocity like that because they have put one big pump and the pump is pushing the water. No. No pump is required in Ganga when Ganga is flowing. Ganga is flowing spontaneously with such velocity. In the same way, we can come to a stage where our consciousness will be drawn to Krishna like that and not attracted to anything else. Another example that Chaitanya Prabhupada gives is Yadavadi mama cheta Krishna padara vinde Nava nava rasadhamnya udyatham rantumasit Tadavadhi bhata nari sangame smaryamane Bhavati mukha vikaraha sushtu nishjivanam cha. Prabhupada often quoted this Yamunacharya's prayers. Very beautiful prayer, where he is saying that since the time my mind became attached to the lotus feet of Krishna, yadavadhi mama chetaha Krishna padara vinde. Since my mind has become attracted to the lotus feet of Krishna, nava rasa dhamnya udyatham rantumasit. In my heart, newer and newer rasas are just rising in my heart. Udyatham rantumasit. He's relishing. He sees this is the Raganuga stage, where that newer and newer, nava rasa, newer and newer rasas, bhakti rasas are rising, surging in my heart. And hence, tadavadi bata nari sangame. The most interesting and enchanting thing in the material world for the materialist is attraction and association with a woman. That nari sangame smaryamane, if I just think about it, mukha vikaraha. Oh, I shun from that. Sushti nishtivanam cha. And I spit at the thought. Very strong words. Just see the position of a devotee. So like this, the Acharyas have said this, the Shastra says this, and so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu points out, and this is the stage one can actually come to. So that is the position of Krishna consciousness that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching, that we can come to that stage when we will be spontaneously attracted to Krishna. And the spiritual world is Rati Keli. Spiritual world means constantly these kind of attractive activities between Krishna and his devotees are constantly going on in the spiritual world. Just see the conception of spiritual life that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving. Such a vibrant, very, very attractive spiritual world, and Krishna is inviting us to come there. And that is the very special message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and presented by Srila Prabhupada. We'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.